Remember how we would sit around talking for hours? I never used to eat junk food. We would go to the beach every weekend. I used to be adventurous. I would live in Florida. Wait, you mean you used to live in Florida? So, do you ever get confused with the grammar for would? You know, there's a lot of ways that we use would in English, but did you know that you can use would and used to in the same way? So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how we use used to and would. We're going to look at context and meaning of these words. We're going to look at forms and structures of used to and would. We're going to look at the rules, of course, and then how to use these in our everyday conversations. So let's go ahead and get started with context and meaning. So we can use used to and would when we are talking about the past, but specifically habitual actions and routines in the past. Now, these are events and actions and situations that are no longer happening now. They don't apply presently anymore. They're in the past. So things that we did routinely, habitually, or multiple times, events that occurred routinely multiple times, or situations that existed and they no longer exist in the present. They're in the past. They're over. They're done. So, forms and structures. Let's start with used to. Used to is probably a little bit more common. Now, used to is in the past tense. You can see that ed, D at the end, used to. And we don't say used to, you don't hear the D, it's just used to. We say used to with the simple form or present tense verb. It's used with any regular verb or stative verb. Remember, stative verb is a state of be, how you feel or how you are or how something is. It's a state of be. I used to exercise every morning. So at some point in the past, I exercised routinely or habitually or multiple times, but I no longer do it. I could say I didn't used to exercise every morning, but now I do. All right, now notice this form. If we use a negative, if I say didn't is in the past form. So then I have to say used to in the simple tense. Okay, notice the D is gone in used to because I'm using didn't as the past form. Okay, so I'm only using one past tense form. So didn't used to. Now, sometimes we use adverbs to, emphasize how much. So sometimes we use always or never, and we put always or never before used to. For example, my friends and I always used to play video games after school. I could say, I used to eat junk food, or I never used to eat junk food. So now let's take a look at would, structures and forms of would. Would is also in the past tense form. We also say would with the simple form or present tense verb. I would finish my assignments early. Okay, this is instead of saying used to. We can also say would. Now, if we use adverbs like always or never, or sometimes, we put this after would. I would always go to bed early when I was in high school. I could say I would sometimes go to bed early when I was in high school. So with used to, we put the adverb first. With would, we put the adverb after would. So it's between would and the verb. Would always go. All right, let's look at some examples and rules. An example with used to. I used to work at night. Okay, again, used to, simple tense form of the verb work. I could say, we used to love going to the beach every weekend. Love is a stative verb. It's a state of be. Okay. We cannot use would with stative verbs. This is very important. Okay. We can use stative verbs with used to, but not with would. So stative verbs are be. For example, be, have, live, like. And these are just some of the basic ones. There are others, but these are some of the main ones to remember. We used to love going to the beach every weekend. Not, we would love going to the beach every weekend. Now, if I use would here to talk about something in the past that no longer exists, and I use would with a stative verb, what does that sound like to you? I would love going to the beach every weekend. It sounds like I'm talking about presently. If I had the opportunity, I would love going to the beach, or I would love to go to the beach. It doesn't make sense with stative verbs because it sounds like we're talking about the present or the future. That's why would doesn't work with stative verbs, talking about the past. Let's try live. Normally we say, I used to live in a little mountain town. Not, I would live in a little mountain town. If I said I would live in a little mountain town, it sounds like, oh, if I had the opportunity, I would go live in a little mountain town. You see, it just doesn't work. I have to use used to when I'm talking about the past. Okay, otherwise, people will think I'm talking about now, that I want to go live in a little mountain town now, rather than at one time in the past, I lived in a mountain town. I used to live there. So, that's one thing to remember when we're talking about the past, talking about something I used to do, as a routine or habit or something that existed, but it no longer exists. You cannot use would with stative verbs, only used to. All right, here's another one with have. I used to have a red sports car. We cannot say, I would have a red sports car. Again, it doesn't work with have, with stative verbs. All right, here's another sentence that's very interesting. Now, this sentence is correct. Whenever we would go shopping, you would tell me not to spend all my money. Now, I could say, whenever we used to go shopping, you used to tell me not to spend all my money. That would be okay because go is a regular verb. We can use used to or would. I would see some expensive jacket, but you wouldn't let me buy it. I could also use used to here, but this sentence sounds better with would. Both of these sentences sound better and make a little bit more sense using would. Here's why. When we talk about something in the past that happened many times or several times, but not as a routine or habit, okay, not necessarily as a strict routine, it just happened several times off and on, it's more common to use would. In the previous sentence, maybe we didn't go shopping regularly or routinely, but sometimes we went shopping together. In the second sentence, I'm giving an example. I didn't see an expensive jacket every time we went shopping, but I'm making the point that when I wanted to buy something that was expensive, you stopped me. This is in general. I didn't see a jacket every single time, but I saw some items. I'm just using an example of something that would happen whenever we would go shopping, and it was just whenever. So it wasn't really a strict routine, and it's very common in those types of situations to use would. Here's some more examples that are very similar. Remember how we would sit around at the cafe and talk? Remember when our English teacher would let us bring donuts to class sometimes? The neighbor's dog would get out of the yard and chase everyone down the street. Now, these activities didn't necessarily happen routinely or a strict routine, but they did happen many times on different occasions. So this isn't really a rule to use would like that, but it's just a common way that we use English. The more you hear English, the more you listen, the more you hear conversations, the more you watch TV and movies with English, you'll hear this example and this type of structure in this context. All right, So how can we apply used to and would in our everyday conversations? Well, we need to practice. Fill in the blank. I used to live where? Or I used to live in, okay. So just fill in the blank. Say this structure out loud. Say the sentence out loud. I used to live in, give a name of your town or your city or your country, But keep in mind, it's a place that you no longer live in. It was something in the past. You can make something up if you've lived in the same place your whole life. Now, can I use would here? No, because my verb is live. It's a stative verb. I can only use used to. I used to take music lessons. Were there some types of lessons that you used to take? Whether sports, music, anything. I used to take what? Now, if we used would, it's very common to say kind of when or how often that happened. I would take music lessons every week after school. We could say used to or would here. Now think of a hobby you used to have or do. Maybe play the piano, play soccer, skydive, travel, whatever. I used to, what? Fill in the blank. And you could say would too. I would play the piano. I would play soccer every day after school. I would travel every summer. Next, think of some changes in your life. How has your life changed in the past 3 years or the last 5 years? You could say, I used to what? But now I what? I never used to what? Something you never used to do or never used to have, but now what? What's different? I never used to work at night. You could say, I never used to drive, but now I have my own car. Or I never used to take public transportation, but now I ride the bus to work every day. You could say, I would wake up at 5 in the morning every day, but now I wake up at 7. So just fill some of these in with your own information, or you can make something up. But practice using these structures and this grammar, and after you fill them in, say them out loud. Get used to the way they sound, get used to saying it, hearing it. Phone a friend, read these aloud to your friend just for practice. Try to use these in your daily conversations. So this concludes our tutorial on used to and would. I hope you found it helpful. If you found value in this tutorial, don't forget to give a like and subscribe. And also check out the links in the description for PDF notes and digital quiz. Happy learning, everyone. See you next time.